Hi guys, welcome back to the training. How are you all?
Good, Chirag. Thank you. How are you?
I'm also good. So in the last session, we looked into how Python can be installed, and I'll quickly get started with the basic introductions of Python. Just give me a moment to share my screen. All. So the question which I have first of all is why only Python? Like, why not any other programming languages? When we talk about programming language, we have got various options, right? We have got C, C++, and Raspberry. So many. I mean, not Raspberry, R. But yeah, there are many other options. But why are we sticking to Python? Any idea or any maybe inputs on that? What do you think? What is the reason of using Python?
Simple, easy to use for even for the and easy to learn for even who doesn't have the programming or automation background, right?
So easy to use and learn because of, we can say, easier syntax, right?
Yeah.
As compared to other languages. That's the first point. Then we can say Python is something which is widely accepted on various platforms like Windows, Mac,
If you enjoyed the content of the video, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
Linux, or Pi, etc. So we have wide range of acceptability for the language Python. The syntax which we were talking about in the last point, it is very much similar to English only, right? So if I talk about some of the functions, then the very basic one you must have heard of is the print function. The print function simply prints out whatever you put inside it. So that's how it makes it very easy for anyone who wanna begin with Python to be able to grasp things easily. Now we can say it is interpreter based language. So it doesn't has to be compiled. It doesn't require any compile. So for example, let's say if I have this as my code and I have error in this particular line, let's say the line number 3. So this 1, 2, 3 is the error, for example. So the Python is going to execute the script till this point, and at this moment only it will give me the error. But otherwise, if I talk about other languages, in those scenarios, we have to compile this as a single object using some compiler. And then when we run the particular object or when we try to execute that particular set of commands, because of this 1, 2, 3 error, the whole script will get failed. So it is a kind of, we can say, line by line execution, which we observe in the case of Python. Then it is low barrier entry language. So as you mentioned earlier, since all these things are there, since all these features are there, the understandability of syntax is very easy and the wide supportability is there. Because of these reasons, we can say there are very less barriers to get started with Python, even if we don't have any understanding of how programming languages work. So this is one good point because of which we are here talking about Python. Now, Python is available in, we can say, various versions. But if we broadly categorize them, so we have got 2.x and then 3.x. We'll be using 3.x, that is the latest one and the one which is currently in use. So we'll be using this, and if you have installed the latest version yesterday, so you must have got something 3 point, I guess 11 something, or maybe 10.7. I'm not pretty sure which is the latest one. So yeah, that is the one which we will be using. That is going to help us and is compatible with all the functions which we need for network automation. So these are few things to know about Python. Once the Python is installed, all you have to do is you have to get into your shell or command prompt here and then have to run the command Python. So once you run Python, you will get some details of your language. The version which I have in my device is 3.11.1. So after that, when I run Python, I can see these three angular brackets. Now this represents the interpreter. Interpreter is used for executing your Python commands. For example, as I mentioned about the print function. So if I try to run the print function here in the normal command prompt, we can say application, the print function will not work because that is something which is associated with the Python language. So in order to use it in Python, I have to first make sure that I am inside the interpreter. Now, in order to print out something, we use the print function. So let's try out a very basic thing. The traditional way of getting started with any programming language, printing hello world. So let's try to print that. I'm going to say print bracket. Now, under the, we can say quotes, we have to mention our statement which we want to print out. So I'm going to say hello world. This is what I want to print. Put the closing commas, put the closing bracket and hit enter. Once I hit enter, it directly first executes the command, which is printing out the hello world, and then brings back the prompt again for my next particular command. Make sense, guys?
Yes, Chirag.
Great. Then after that, if for example, I want to write some more information, let's say after, so for example, let's say I want to write the interface configurations. So in order to configure interface, we have some set of commands like enable, then configure terminal, then we say interface. For example, get 0/0, then IP space address space 200.10.11 space 255.255.255.0, then no shutdown, then we say exit, and then we say end. Now in this scenario, we have to write multiple lines, right? But when I go back to my terminal, here if I begin print bracket and I try to say enable, and hit enter to get into the next line. When I hit enter, I get a syntax error. So it is telling me that unterminated string literal. What does that mean? So whatever we put inside these commas, that will be your string. Now that string is not terminated here. Why? Because we are not putting the closing commas. So since after enable I hit enter, it assumes that I am done with the command and it tries to execute that. So this might explain how the line by line execution works. So when I try to hit enter, Python assumes that, okay, I am done with stating my command and it tries to execute that. When it tries to execute that, it realizes that this particular string is unterminated. Why? Because there is no closing commas, there is no closing brackets. So how can we get rid of that? What if I want to print out something in multiple lines? Is it not possible? Yes, it is possible, but for that we have a particular function to use. So that is /n. I'm going to say print, comma, enable. Now, when I want to get into the next line, which means whenever you want to break the line, you will say backslash and then n, like this. Then configure terminal. Again, I want to break the line, so backslash n, interface, gigabit Ethernet 0/0, backslash n, IP space address 210.11 space 255.255.255.0 backslash n, no shutdown, again backslash n, and then we can say exit. Now close the commas, close the brackets and hit enter. And this time the output is printed out into multiple lines. Why? Because of this /n. So using /n, you can make sure that your particular value is printed in multiple lines. Now, similarly, you can create some banners as well. So for example, you want to print out something like a banner. So you can simply say print bracket /n/n. Then, okay, I missed commas. So /n/n. Let's say to the uh, welcome to the router configuration dialog. Again /n/n, then I'll close the brackets and other things and hit enter. So it will first break 2 lines, then print out the statement, then we'll break 2 more lines. Clear, guys?
Yes, Chirag.
All right, what about others, guys?
Yes, clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chirag. It's
All
clear,
right, cool.
sir.
Just a quick question. How many of you are a little bit aware of Python? Just maybe give thumbs up.
I am
All right.
aware. Yeah.
Yes, Mohammed. All right, cool. So take 5 minutes, try out this, try exploring this, try to put various things inside your print function, see how it works, and then let's discuss the other functions after that. So take 5 to 10 minutes and try executing this. Once you are done with this, please put a done message in the chat box. All right, I hope you guys must have tried this out by now. So as of now, we are just trying to understand how the syntax work. Gradually, we'll talk about what are the data types, what are the different values which we can use inside Python functions and other stuff. Now, for example, let's say I want to print out a statement which already includes the cot. So for example, I'll open the notepad first. Let's say the statement I want to print out is hello, meet me at, and then I want to code it down as this Central Park today. Let's say this is the statement I want to print out. So let's try to print it out. I'll come back to my interpreter and I'll say print bracket. We'll begin the commas and we'll say hello, comma, meet me at Central Park today, like this. When I try to hit enter, it says invalid syntax. What could be the reason behind this? Let's try to understand. So here, when I begin with the inverted commas, here in the very first place, I mentioned hello, meet me at, and then when I'm mentioning Central Park, this is going to be assumed as the end of your string. After that, it tries to find out whether Central Park is some other function or not. So it realizes, okay, there is nothing like Central Park in the Python dictionaries or in the Python understandings. That's why it gives you the syntax error. So what to do in such a scenario? In such a scenario, you can replace the double commas with single inverted commas. So you'll say print bracket. Now, instead of using double ones, I'll use single one and we'll say hello, comma, meet me at Central Park today. Close the single comma, close the bracket, hit enter, and we can see the statement was printed out without any error. The reason is here the Python will only understand that string will get terminated when there will be a closing single comma. Otherwise, if in the statement there are some double inverted commas, that means that is a part of your string. That is not a part of Python syntax. So if, for example, you have something to mention inside double inverted commas, then you can use single commas outside. If you have something to mention in single commas, then you can use double commas outside. It's totally your choice. These commas can be used for mentioning any string inside your functions. After that, for example, let's say I want to print out some IP address. So I can say print 192.168.1.1. If I hit enter, it will simply print out the IP address. But wait a minute, let's say I want to print out the IP again. Then do I have to do the same thing again? Print 10.192.168.1.1. Yes, I have to write it again and again because I am keeping it as a string. Now this value, when I print out here, ends, right? It is not stored anywhere. So if I want to keep it inside a particular object and then call that object every time, then I would need something called as variables. So variables are simply, we can say, some containers which are going to keep the values or which are going to store the values which you provide inside it. So for example, I want to provide this IP address into a variable which is called as router IP. So what I will do is I'll first of all create the variable. So router IP space is equals to space store the value 192.168.1.1 like this and hit enter. Now in this case, the value which you have on the left side of your equals to router IP, this particular thing is your variable name, right? After that, on the right side, we have the value. And this equals to is termed as assignment operator in the terminology of Python. What is assignment operator? Simply we can say something which we use for assigning values to something. So this assignment operator is assigning the value 192.168.1.1 to a variable called router IP. Now after this, if I want to print out this IP address, I don't have to write the whole IP again and again. I can simply say print router IP. And since router IP is the object, not a string, that's why we don't need the inverted commas here. We can simply call that name router IP, and when I hit enter, it will print out the IP address. If I again, let's say after 10 lines, 5 lines, I want that IP address again. So I can again say print router IP and hit enter. So every time it's going to print out 192.168.1.1 because that container contains a value of this IP address. Make sense, guys? Any questions till now?
Yeah, clear.
Okay.
If you have to modify or delete Chirag, that
Then
IP,
also, yeah, that is possible. So now let's say I want to change the IP address. Instead of 1.1, I want to keep 2.1. So in that case, what I will do is I'll reassign the value. I'll say router IP is equals to 192.168.2.1. Now when I reassign this, the previous one will be removed and this new one will be updated. So when I say print router IP and I hit enter, so it prints out 192.168.2.1. There is one more thing, one more important aspect to understand. If I take exit from my interpreter, if I say exit, and in order to take exit, you have to say exit and then put empty brackets, empty parenthesis, hit enter. So once I take exit, I'm back into the command prompt, right? Now I'll enter the Python again. And if I try to say print router IP, so this is not going to work. Because the moment you leave your interpreter, everything which was stored in the buffer memory of your Python will be removed. Now router IP is no longer any object. If you want to create again some object, let's say IP is equals to 1.1.1.1. After that, if I say print IP, then yeah, that will work. So these are few things to always remember, that interpreter, once you leave your interpreter, you will not no longer be able to use those objects which you have created. But yeah, this also brings us to the question, then how are we going to perform network automation? So for that, we have got some other solutions. As of now, we don't have to worry about how it will work later on. As of now, our only focus is understanding Python. So so there is one more thing which is about the names of these variables. You cannot name it anything. So there are few rules which you have to follow in order to give a name to your variable. So the very first thing is that your variable name cannot start with a number. So I cannot say first IP. Let's say one IP is equals to 200.10.11. Enter. No, that is not possible. It gives you syntax error. But I can say IP1. So basically, my variable name cannot start from a number but can end with a number. So for example, I wanna identify, or I wanna keep 5 variables called IP, but I want to store different values inside it. So I can say IP1, IP2, IP3 like that. I cannot say one IP, two IP, three IP like that. That is not possible. Secondly, you cannot keep space between your variable name. So I cannot say first space name is equals to Chirag. So that is again invalid syntax. But what instead I can do is I can use underscore. I can say first underscore name is equals to Chirag like this. So there cannot be space between your variables names. There has to be either underscore or maybe no space. You can directly say first name. Then this is the second point. First point is that your variable name cannot start from a number. Second rule is that you cannot have space in between your variable name. Third rule is that this particular variable and this particular variable is different variables. Age is equals to, let's say, 25. Age is equals to 26. Now, do you think the value of age must have been updated to 26? Because in the next line I have said age should be 26. What do you think if I say print age? What value will come out? 25, right? Because these variable names are also case sensitive. So this is a different variable and this age with a capital A is a different variable. If I create one more, let's say name all in caps as Chirag, then I say name, let's say for example, Abhijit, and I try to hit enter. Now if I say print all caps name, then it will print out Chirag. If I say print all small name, it will print out Abhijit. So the capital one and the small case one are different variables. So the third rule is that your variable names are case sensitive. Clear, guys? Any questions or doubts in this?
No, we okay. Thank you.
Good.
All right, great. Then go ahead, try this out. Try exploring these variables and other stuff, whichever we have discussed. And let me know after that, we'll continue. Okay, I hope everyone must have tried this by now. Now the next part is understanding how we can assign the same value to multiple variables. So I want to keep the age as 25 only, be it with capital A, be it with small a, be it all in caps, be it all in small letters. So what can we do in that scenario? Let's try to understand that. What I'll say is age, comma, age, comma, age. This is what I want to achieve. I want to keep all the three as 25, right? So what I do is I will say age is also equals to age like this, and then smaller one is also equals to this only. So whenever I say print age, it prints out 25. If I say print age all in caps, then also it prints out 25 because now all the three values are having same value, which is 25. Similarly, you can assign, for example, right now we have assigned multiple variables, same value. We can also assign same like a single variable having multiple values that will be called as list. So when you assign multiple variables same value, that is simply a variable which is having a single value. But assigning multiple values to a single variable, that will require a data type of Python, which is list, which we will talk about later on. As of now, let's see how in the same line we can assign values to different variables. Let's say I want to define the name, the age, the role. And the first way of doing that is this. I can say name is equals to Chirag, age is equals to 26, and maybe role is equals to instructor, enter. First way of doing this is simply by keeping all the values into different lines. Another way is name, comma, age, comma, role is equals to Chirag, comma. Uh, Let me change the values so that we can see the updated version. Let's say 28, comma, and instructor like this. So both of these ways are simply assigning values to three variables and not the same value, different values. Now, if I say print bracket name, that's going to print out Chirag. If I say print bracket age, that's going to print out 28. Make sense, guys? Now we can also change the value of something later on. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, like here, we are assigning all the three variables, the same value called 25. Let's say now I want to change the value for them, then that is also possible. Again, what I will do is write them like this and then make the change here in the value side and it will be updated. Now you can see here a difference, right? When I earlier defined the age, I didn't use any inverted commas. I directly wrote 26. But later on, when I was defining age here, when I defined it as 28, I used these inverted commas. So is there some rule? So no, there's nothing like that, but there is a difference here. So as of now, we have been dealing with strings, right? Now, if you put any number directly without inverted commas, that will be considered as an integer. But if you put the number inside inverted commas, that will be considered as string. So what is the difference? How is it going to benefit us, or how this information is going to help us out? So later on, when we use some other functions, so the function might expect some integer, and because you have saved the value under inverted commas, the execution will get failed. So at that time, it becomes a little important to understand that what value is going to be referred to as integer or what value will be going to be referred as string. So there is a difference between them. Let's see how we can identify that. So now I'm going to, let's say, create two more variables. One will be age is equals to 26 like this, and then another one age is equals to 25 without inverted commas. So in order to check the type of your particular variable, you can use the function type. So I'll inside the print function, I will use another function called type. Type then again bracket, then call the variable which you want to check the type of. So I'll say age, close both the brackets and hit enter. So it prints out the class of your variable age is str. Str stands for string. Why is it telling me that age is a string? Because I have used inverted commas here. But if I try to check the type of age with a capital A, at that time it prints out class is int. Int simply means it is an integer. Clear, guys? Any questions in this?
It's clear.
All right. Now, one more thing, which is again something similar to which we have talked about earlier. Let's say I want to print out more than one variable. What to do in that case? So let's say I want to print name, and along with that I want to print age. So I can simply say print name, comma, age like this. When I hit enter, it is going to print out Chirag, then space 26. Now, earlier when we were trying to print out something, okay, I hope as of now the difference is clear between the string and integer. Now the thing is that earlier when we were trying to write a string in multiple lines, we had to use slash n, right? So slash n was used to, we can say, break the line. So earlier when I tried to print out the interface configuration, I did something like this: print, then enable slash n, then config t slash n, then interface gig 0/0/n, IP address 210.1.1.255.255.255.0, then again slash n, then after that no shutdown slash n, and then end. Then I close the inverted comma, close the bracket. When I hit enter, it prints out each and every particular command in different line. Now the same can be achieved by creating a multi-liner string. Now this particular line is a single liner string, and the line is breaking down into multiple lines because we are using slash n. But we can also directly use a multi-liner string where we want to print out multiple lines. So let's see how. So now my new commands is a variable inside which I'll store the values as a multi-liner string. Now, in order to store values in multi-liner string, you use triple quotes like this. And this time when I say enable and I hit enter, so see, it is not executing the particular command. Rather, it is asking me to put some more inputs. So after I say enable and I hit enter, it does not goes to the execution. It expects more information from my side. So I'll say after enable, I want to write configure terminal, enter, interface gig 0/0, IP space address, enter, no shutdown, and then let's say description, then exit, then end. Now here I am done with my multi-liner string. So what I will do is I'll close all the triple quotes, will close the bracket like this, and I will hit enter. Okay, so there is a mistake here. Sorry. So there is a mistake here. We were not inside the print function. So that's why we didn't had to close any bracket. We were not using any function there. So I'll try to write it down again. New underscore commands is equals to multi-liner string, where I begin with the command enable and configure terminal. then interface gig0/0, IP space address 200.10.11, then no shutdown, exit, enter. So when I hit enter now this time, my new commands is a variable which is containing a multi-line string, which includes all the commands for configuring interface gig0/0. Now if I say print new underscore commands, so it's going to print out the commands into multiple lines. So it's your choice how you want to write it down, whether you want to use /n or whether you want to create a multi-line string. That totally depends upon you. So give all this a try and then put a done message in the chat box. After that, we will look into concatenation, how it works and how it can be used in Python scripts. All right, let's look ahead. So now we will understand how we can concatenate multiple variables together. So for example, let's say I'm going to create variables. The first variable I'll have is going to be the name. Name is equals to Chirag. Then I want to store another variable called, let's say, last name. That's done like this. Now I want to print both of them together. So what I can do first is I can say print name comma last name like this. That will print out Chirag Dhall full name. Or otherwise, I can concatenate them together. Now, what is the benefit of concatenating? Let's try to understand that. So when we do concatenation, we can bring in string as well. I can say print string, my name is space, and then I'll concatenate it with the variable called name like this, and then last name like this. Now this will print out the output. My name is Chirag Dhall. But do you see here we don't have any space between Chirag and Dhall, because when we do concatenation, it will not consider the space between both the variables. It will just print out the variables attached together. So what to do in such a scenario? What we refer to, what we do is we simply add in one more string like this. So we are telling my Python script to print out my name is, then space, then put the name. Then we have kept one empty string, which is just simply a space, then the last name, so that the output becomes my name is Chirag space Dhall. So when I hit enter now, I can see the output is my name is Chirag Dhall with well spaced, we can say, words. Similarly, you can create multiple variables. So I'm just trying to explain you concatenation here. So for example, let's say X is my name and then Y is Chirag Dhall. My role is, then Z is simply instructor. So I can say print X plus Y plus Z. So it will print out the complete statement. My name is Chirag Dhall, my role is instructor, like that. That's how concatenation works. You always have to remember that string will only get, string will always will be concatenated with string only. For example, if I say I want to keep variable age 26. Now age, since I am storing the value 26 without any inverted commas, is going to be considered as integer, right? If I want to print or if I want to concatenate name with age now, so let's see what happens. So it gives you the error that you can only concatenate string, not integer, to string. So with string, you can only concatenate string. This is the time where I understand, okay, so I should store my age like this. And after this, if I try running the same command, then yes, the concatenation happens very well. Or otherwise, what you can do is you can convert the data type as well from string to integer or integer to string by using some specific functions. So for example, uh, let's say integer is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this is an integer, right? We are not storing the value into any inverted comma. So if I say print type bracket integer, so that's a integer simply. But I can convert it into string by using the function str bracket integer, like this. Now this integer is not a integer, it is a string because I have used the function string to convert it into a string. Now if I say print type integer, okay, okay, so at this moment only it printed out with the quotes. Sorry, I missed that. So we can see it is going to consider it as a string. But after that, when I try to print the original integer, which where we stored the value for the variable called integer, that basically is still working as an integer. Make sense, guys? So when I use this function string here, for the moment, it will convert it into a string. After that, the original form here can be seen. But what if I want to change it permanently to string? What to do in that case? Then again, I'll be using my assignment operator. I'll say integer is equals to str of integer. So I'm reassigning the value to the variable called integer, and I'm telling it to become a string. After this, if I say print type of integer like this, then it's not going to be integer, it's going to be string because I have redefined the value for that. Questions, guys?
No, it's okay.
Can you please repeat this, Chirag? Sorry,
Yeah.
the last
So
part.
let's understand it with more example. Uh, I have a variable name which stores the value Abhijit. Okay. Then I have the age which stores the value 26. 26. Now, Dania, tell me, age is a integer or a string?
It's integer.
Integer, right? If I want to concatenate name and age together, it will not work, right? Because
Hmm.
name is a string and age is an integer.
Integer.
So what can I do is I can use string function to convert age into string, for which I'll say print name and then string of age like this. So that when concatenation happens, it happens with a string and string. So this time it will print out Abhijit 26. Now, what do you think, is age integer or a string?
It's converted as string. It's
No,
No,
it will stay as
it
it
is
should still be an integer.
exactly. It
okay.
is still an integer. We converted it into string for this particular command only.
Okay.
But if I redefine the value of it, if I say age is equals to string of age, if I say like this, after this, I can say I have converted the age into a string. Now, if I say print type of age, here I can say that the value is going to be a string. Make sense?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, great. Now, after this, we have some functions to convert the data into lowercase or uppercase, a very basic one. So I'll just explain so that you can try the whole thing later on. So Chirag is a value which is going to be in lowercase first, right? But I want to print this out in the uppercase. So I can simply say print name dot upper, then empty parenthesis. These parentheses defines that upper is a function. Then close the print bracket and hit enter. It will print out Chirag in the uppercase. Then let's say I create another variable role, which is instructor, and that value is all in caps. But I want to print out in the lowercase. Can you guess what would be the function?
Lower.
Exactly. Lower is going to be the function which will convert the data into lowercase. Now, if I want to completely change it, if I want to permanently store the value of role as lowercase only, so what I'll do is I'll simply say role is equals to role dot lower and then brackets. This has changed the value of role into whatever value was there, but in the lowercase, right? Now, if I say print role, it will print out instructor, but in lowercase.
So here we can change the variable value manually, or we can, or we can change the case of that particular variable value by using this.
Here you are just simply changing the case of your value.
Yeah. But also we can manually change it, right? Role equal
Yeah,
to
definitely
in
you
the
can do
lower
that.
case. Yeah.
Right. So as of now, we have understood how concatenation works and how the uppercase and lowercase function works. Now there is very last thing which we have for today, which we will discuss about. That is the format function. So in any scenario, there can be some values which you are not sure about or which are not static, which are going to change every time. So for those values, we use format function to define things. So for example, let's say I'm creating a database where the name of every person is going to be different, the role of every person is going to be different, then their experience will be different, uh, their courses which they deliver will be different. All of the information is going to be different for each and everyone, right? So what I'll do is I'll say name is equals to the name or the employee name is. Instead of writing Chirag, Aman, Abhijit, or any particular word, I'll put curly brackets like this. And then I will hit enter. Now, if I say print name, so it will print out the employee name is curly brackets. But if I say print bracket name dot format, and inside the bracket I specify Chirag like this, then it's going to print out the employee name is Chirag. Similarly, if I say print name dot format bracket Abhijit, then this time it will print out the employee name is Abhijit. So using the format function, I can define multiple values every time I am executing the command for a particular statement. For example, now let's try understanding it with another example. Let's say IP address is there. The subnet I am sure about, but the exact IP I'm not. So let's say I have a subnet of 192.168.1.0, where the last value is something which I'm not sure about. So I'll put curly brackets there, close the inverted comma and hit enter. Now, when it comes to printing out the IP 1.10, what I'll say is I'll say print IP dot format bracket 10, close the brackets and hit enter. So it will print out 1.10. But now I want 1.100 to be printed out. So I'll say print IP dot format 100 like this. And it's going to print out 100. You can do this for two values as well. So now I'll change the IP to 200.10 dot curly bracket dot curly bracket. My bad. So IP1 is equals to 200.10 dot curly bracket curly bracket. So I want to define now two values using the format function. So I'll say print IP1 dot format bracket, define the first value. So let's say 210.5 comma, then the second value like this. Close the bracket, hit enter, and it's going to print out 205.1. Make sense? Any questions, doubts in this, guys?
Chirag, good.
No, no.
Okay. So last thing, for example, let's say I have multiple dynamic values. I have multiple curly bracket values. So managing it according to the order would be a little difficult, right? Because now when I say 5, then I put comma and 1, then only it will put 5 and 1. What else I can do is I can put a name for them. I can say IP2 is equals to 192.168 curly bracket, but inside it I'll write third and then close the bracket like this. Then I'll say fourth and then close the bracket like this. Then put the inverted commas as well. And then hit enter. Now this time when I use the format function, I don't have to worry about the order. I simply have to say fourth is equals to 10 like this, comma, third is equals to 1. So even if I rearrange the order, or even if I don't follow the exact order, then also the output is going to be printed out correctly. Here, since I didn't put the closing bracket, that's why the execution failed. Let me show it to you again. So now I have successfully added the brackets. Now you can see the fourth is changed with the value of 10. And third is changed with a value of 1. But earlier, when I was not putting any word inside the curly brackets, I had to make sure that I am going ahead with the exact order. So this is the better way, right? This is something which can be easily managed. So that's how we will also later on will be using the format function to define the IP, the interface name, and other stuff in the network automation journey. So I can show you one basic example. Let's say commands is equals to multi-line string enable config t configure terminal interface. Now name is something which can be different every time. So I'm running a particular script which configures the interface on the device. But that interface name, whether it's going to be gig 00, gig 01, gig 02, that can be different every time, right? So for that, I will create a curly bracket value that will be name like this. Then enter IP address. Now again, IP is something which can be different. So IP, then mask, enter, no shutdown, and then exit. Now when I want to print out, I will say print commands dot format, and here I'll start defining the values. Name is equals to, let's say, loopback 100, comma, IP is equals to 200.10.11, comma, mask is equals to 255.000. And then I'll close the brackets. I will hit enter. Okay. Commands. Did you mean commands? Okay, so here I misspelled the commands with single M, and since I used double M, that's why it gave me the error. No worries. Let's try to run the same command again. And I'll change it to single M. There you go. So it prints out enable configure terminal interface loopback 100 IP address no shutdown exit. Now the same particular variable called commands can be used for loopback 101 as well, right? At that time, what I will do is for 101, I'll make the changes. I'll say the name should be loopback 101. The IP should be 210.2.1, or rather since it is /8, so 201.10.11, and the mask should be 255,000. Now when I hit enter, so it will update the values according to new particular information. Make sense, guys? So if you have got any questions regarding whatever we have talked about as of now, then let me know. Otherwise, you can take up 15 minutes and try out the whole thing, and then let me know your doubts and questions.
So, Chirag, like today, we covered only in the Python shell, right, from the command prompt.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Guys, do we have any questions in this?
No, I'm okay.
No, fine.
Yeah,
No,
all
Chirag.
good.
Fine, Chirag.
Right. Great. Then let's wrap it up for today, and I'll see you on next weekend. Till then, keep exploring whatever we have discussed. Try out various things, and in case you get any questions or doubts, you can put it in the Telegram group. I'll be there to help you out. I'll see you on next Saturday. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Have a good week ahead. See you. Thanks. Bye bye.